I'm legally required to be a pyro man now that I'm a furry, guys. Real, no clickbait, guys. The scorch shot has been one of the most hated weapons in TF2 for a long time now, with many videos calling it overpowered, brain dead, and obnoxious, but I can't really think of any time the scorch shot has felt oppressive or annoying in a match. I think the only reason most TF2 players hate the scorch shot is because they saw their favorite YouTubers calling it broken, because it really isn't very hard to play around at all. There's two issues that I think caused the scorch shot's reputation to become so low, and neither of them are really the scorch shot's fault. The first problem is that medic is very unpopular in casual mode, with most teams having 0 to 1 medics when there should be at least 2. This means that spamming players with afterburn is much more effective because it's not as easy to avoid burning to death, and it will quickly chew through your health without any sustained healing to recover. The second problem is the scorch shot's synergy with the Phlogistinator, which the scorch shot is often blamed for, but if the scorch shot was removed right now, people would do the exact same campy spam playstyle with the detonator, and if that were removed too, it would be the flare gun, then the man melter. The flog itself encourages the camping and spamming because the afterburn is the easiest way and safest way to charge it. The scorch shot is also considered a very easy weapon to use, especially compared to the detonator, but the detonator is arguably an even easier weapon. Yes, a new player would struggle with it, but that's because it has a steep but short learning curve. For anyone who is experienced at the game, the detonator is even easier to take advantage of. On the topic of the detonator, one complaint against the scorch shot is that it is way stronger than the other flare guns, which I also believe to be untrue. Despite the scorch shot being thought of as the splash damage flare gun, the detonator does slightly more splash damage and doesn't have to rely on hitting the environment to make it explode, making it better than the scorch shot. In fact, if you don't hit any targets with the same flare twice, the scorch shot has objectively less damage output than the detonator, and this isn't even mentioning that the detonator is one of the best mobility items on Pyro. I would even argue that the flare gun is most likely also stronger than the scorch shot. While the flare gun lacks any splash damage, it is much more powerful on direct hits. The flare gun does more damage than the scorch shot in any of the following situations. You hit a direct hit, but the scorch shot bounce misses, you hit more than one flare in a row, or the target was already on fire before you hit them. Not only are all of these extremely common, but more than one of them can happen at once. The splash damage and higher potential damage on non-burning enemies does make the scorch shot the stronger weapon for DPS overall, but that's ignoring the strongest part of the flare gun, the burst damage to finish off burning enemies near instantly. A pyro without a burst damage tool is incredibly easy to rush down and kill, making Scorch Shot Pyro basically defenseless against competent players. I've seen some YouTubers say that either the knockback or the bouncing flare should be removed, but getting rid of either would make the weapon less skill dependent, more spam reliant, and less unique compared to the other flare guns. Without the bouncing flare, the weapon's damage potential is crippled, and it becomes useful for spamming only. And without the knockback, the bouncing flare would become useless and it would also be reduced to only spamming. Both stats help make the scorch shot mechanically unique and increase its skill ceiling. I'm not a furry, I swear.